Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Cord Cutting Today. And believe it or not, we are this close to the month of August. It is Friday, July 31st, 2020. And if you're new to this channel, this is where we take a look at the biggest headlines of the week. It's a place to catch up on the world of streaming and cord cutting. And in this week's show, we're going to take a look at the return of live sports, the latest in the back and forth between Amazon, Roku, and HBO, a landmark new distribution deal involving AMC Theaters and Universal, and more. But first, yes, of course, if you like this show and or this channel, feel free to click those handy like and subscribe buttons located down below somewhere. Those are a huge help to us and enable us to produce more content in the future. And as always, for all the stories we're going to talk about today, you'll find handy links to our website, cordcuttersnews.com, included down below in the video description. And now that we've established all of that, let's get right into the news. And let's start with some bad news for cable providers. We are well into earnings season right now, and Comcast has revealed that it's lost some 477,000 video subscribers during the second quarter of this year. At the same time, revenue was reportedly down by 12% compared to the same period last year, to the tune of $23.7 billion. Of course, Comcast's broadband business helped soften the blow a bit, with the company adding 323,000 new subscribers during the quarter, which actually exceeded the average estimate of analysts. The continued video subscriber losses aren't really a surprise, and Comcast has said before it has expected to see a drop. And despite its broadband business gaining new users, the company said it's not really planning to subsidize its video service with broadband. And like I said at the top of this story, it is indeed earnings season. So in addition to the link for our Comcast story, I'll include links to some of the other posts we've covered in the past few days. Speaking of Comcast, the company also announced it plans to pass along credits it's received from regional sports networks for games that weren't played due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Now, this is a story we've been covering for a few months now, and we looked at whether cable companies would opt to adjust pricing or issue refunds for customers who paid for live sports that they, of course, didn't receive. And this week, Comcast did indeed announce it will be issuing adjustments to customer bills based on Major League Baseball games that weren't played. The details are still pending, but it looks like refunds will come in the form of credits on future bills, and the exact amount for each customer will likely depend on that customer's geographic location. So, if you're a Comcast customer, it might be a good idea to keep a closer eye on your bill in the near future. And yes, the world of sports has been, shall we say, highly unusual this year, but we're starting to see some signs of a return. Major League Baseball is back, though not without some difficulties. And this weekend, the NBA kicks off its season in a bubble with 22 teams playing 8 more regular season games before the playoffs begin in earnest next month. So Jess has put together a handy list of which teams are playing and how you can follow along without cable. We've got a list of live TV streaming services and which networks will carry games, including any channel add-ons you might need if you're already on one of those services. And as with other major sports leagues that are resuming play right now, it'll be interesting to see how the NBA's approach turns out. I'm sure we're all hoping everyone involved can stay safe, but for the fans out there, are you looking forward to finishing off the season and hopefully crowning a 2020 champion? Let us know in the comments below. Meanwhile, this week also saw a major new deal between AMC Theaters and NBC Universal. This new agreement allows Universal to bring its new movies to other services like rentals via premium video on demand just 17 days after they've premiered in movie theaters. This is a massively narrower window for theaters to carry new releases. Typically, movies aren't made available for home viewing for a couple months following their theater premiere, but streaming services and the ongoing coronavirus pandemic have forced some significant changes. And this is another story we've been following for some months now. But to recap, Universal opted to bring its movie Trolls World Tour to premium video on demand as the pandemic forced large-scale theater closures earlier this year. And it was a huge success for the studio, bringing in a reported $100 million in its first 3 weeks online. And that success spurred Universal to proclaim it might look into premiering future films via streaming instead of traditional theater releases. Well, that didn't sit too well with AMC, the nation's largest theater chain, and the company vowed never to carry Universal films again. Big words indeed, but given the potential money involved here, it's not at all surprising that the two sides have reached an agreement. Now, the deal includes, as we said, a 17-day exclusivity period for theaters, and AMC figures the lion's share of theater revenue is made during that period, which must include 3 weekends. And while exact details and figures aren't available, it appears AMC will at least share in part of the online revenue once movies are made available for streaming rentals. And all of this is a big change for how major movies are normally released, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how moviegoers react. And as for you, our viewers, what do you think of the new deal? For those eager to head back to movie theaters, does the possibility of renting a new release just a few weeks after the premiere change your mind at all, or are you still looking for that theater experience? As always, let us know in the comments below. In other news this week, our very own Jess took a look at the Roku channel landscape and came away with the 10 best free Roku apps for July 2020. Now, some of these might be familiar to you, while others may not be. In all, they cover a variety of interests, including news, movies, live TV, weather, and more. And in addition to Jess's roundup, which is of course linked down below in the video description, we've also published a video showcasing those 10 free apps, and you'll find a link to that video at the end of this one. And we also have another list of free options on Roku, but before I get to that, I did want to point out it does include a sponsor of ours. In this case, that's TBD. But as always with our sponsored content, any and all opinions remain our own. So with that being said, if you're looking for some alternatives to news coverage and perhaps you want to take a quick break from the world, we've gathered together a list of 6 free channels on Roku that all specialize in viral videos. So if you'd like to catch up on all the videos your friends and family might be sharing on social media, this list could help out. And we have channels like Fail Army, Funny or Die, and as I mentioned earlier, TBD. We also have America's Funniest Videos, perhaps one of the original viral video platforms. And we have a link to that roundup, of course, in the video description down below. Moving on, we have an update to another story we've been following for some time now, and it involves Spectrum and the company's plans to introduce a price hike later this year. Now, earlier this month, we reported on Spectrum's intent to raise prices on broadcast TV from $13.50 per month up to $16.45 per month, and that change is set to go into effect on August 5th, otherwise known as next week. And it's not just broadcast TV either. Spectrum Stream TV packages will also see the $2.95 monthly increase, bringing those plans up to $8.95 per month. And Spectrum's cable packages are also going up, with its most popular plan rising to $73.99 per month. So if you're on Spectrum or you've been considering it and you were wondering about when those price hikes would go into effect, well, the answer is pretty soon. And in other stories we've been tracking for some time now, we've got another development in the HBO Amazon Roku saga. Now, Warner Media had a deal in place with Amazon to keep its HBO Now app on Fire TV devices through July 31st. And now, with that date now upon us, there was some question about what would happen when the calendar flipped over to August. Well, the two sides have apparently come to an agreement, with the HBO Now app being rebranded simply as HBO starting on August 1st. And a similar situation is in place on Roku's platform. Now, these agreements come as the various sides continue to discuss bringing the new HBO Max app to Roku and Fire TV, two major platforms that currently don't offer HBO Max. And so the HBO Now app will live on as the HBO app, while the HBO Go app is being retired on July 31st. However, Variety reported that if you are a pay TV customer and your provider has not yet made an HBO Max deal, the HBO Go app will still be available through August. And if all that sounds weirdly complicated, that's because it is. And we'll continue to monitor this story and bring you all the latest updates. Lastly, we have some carriage deal news, and it's not great news for Dish customers. Last weekend, Dish dropped some 42 local stations owned by Scripps after the two companies failed to reach an agreement in their carriage deal, and as you might expect, each side is blaming the other. Scripps said Dish refused to negotiate to a fair agreement. In response, Dish said it offered multiple options that Scripps dismissed. And so, of course, we will continue to keep an eye on these negotiations as the two companies look to hammer out a deal they both can agree on. In the meantime, if you're a Dish customer out there, are you feeling the loss of any of these stations in your area? You know where to let us know. And that about wraps up a pretty busy week and a very busy month here at Cord Cutting Today. As always, we certainly appreciate you tuning in. And hey, if you're among the 160,000 plus subscribers so far who have joined the channel, we definitely appreciate you. And if you'd like to join that growing group, feel free to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Maybe even that bell icon, which can alert you whenever we publish new content to this channel. For now, though, we hope you had a safe and wonderful July, and we will see you all in August. My name is Philip Palermo. Thanks for watching. Take care.